Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming by today. Our general manager, Jarmo Kekalainen, has a few remarks he wants to make to open things, and after that we will turn it over to your questions. If you have a question, we ask that you raise your hand. Either Glenn or Karen will get you a mic. Let us know who the question's for, and then identify yourself, please, if you would. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jarmo.
Late last night, we made a difficult decision, relieving Todd Richards from his duties, and the team was not responding the right way. The record's obvious, but the play wasn't going into the right direction either. And it was a difficult decision because Todd's a good man and good person and a good coach. But we made a change for a reason, and we got a new voice in the room now with John Tortorella and a proven winner, proven coach, and will give us a different direction. And in this situation, I think that's what we need, and that we did what we thought was needed. And by no means this lets anybody off the hook, including management and players. And we're all in this together now, and we got to dig ourselves out of it one step at a time.
First question.
Coach Dom Tiberi with the CBS, WBNS in Columbus. Just your thoughts as you look at this team. What is it missing, do you think?
Well, I really haven't had a chance to. It's hard for me to answer that question right now. It's been a crazy night, and then to hear as we go through the next few days, I think I'll get a better understanding. I think it's important that I need to listen. I want the players to speak to the staff, just to find out where they're at. And we need to do this collectively as a coaching staff and the players involved. So as I go through in the next, I'll answer that question a little bit later, but I just haven't had a chance to really take a deep look into it. And we'll start with a meeting tomorrow, and we're going to talk and try to get on the right path to try to chip away at this and feel good about ourselves.
Next question's back center.
Yeah. Hi, John. Jared Smalley from NBC4 here. Just wanted to ask you about this process, when it began, when you first heard from the Jackets, and what was your initial reaction to them reaching out? Now that you've been working as an analyst, just what you saw in Columbus that maybe made it a good fit for you?
Well, I watched Columbus play last year and have always been impressed how they've played. The process started, it was last night. I mean, it was after the game, and it just rolled along. It just the past few hours, quite honestly. So I'm really interested. I think it's the third youngest team. They've got some pieces that it's really exciting to be a part of, because you're going to be teaching, you're going to be developing kids, teach them how to be pros, and along with doing that, you're looking to win. It's a team that's there, and I'm just honored to be part of it and get involved with them and see what they're about.
Front right.
John Aaron, Portside Columbus Dispatch.
You've called me a number of times.
I did.
Yeah.
It's nice to
Nice to
chat
meet
with
you.
Yeah, you as well. What did the year off do for you? I know veteran coaches have said that a year off for them was almost therapeutic. They didn't welcome it at first, but are you different now? Do you come into this with a different verve maybe than if you would have taken it right away?
Yeah, I think what I did in my year off, and year plus, you do. You look at yourself. You get to look at other coaches. You get to look at other teams. The game is ever changing. There's so many changes as you go through a season, and you're able to watch it from a different perspective. Not on the bench, not making split-second decisions. You're able to encompass everything and watch the trends. I listen to other coaches. I listen to general managers. I listen to the interviews. And, you reassess, and I think one of the biggest things that I'd like to start off here is I need to have better listening skills, because I just want to know what's going on here and then act accordingly as we talk as a group. But it's so important that we do it collectively here as a management group, coach coaches and players, we need to have some honesty amongst ourselves so we can get on the right road.
Second row left.
Coach Kayla Anderson, 10 TV Sports, CBS affiliate here. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Second of all, can you just describe your coaching style?
My coaching style, it's a pretty simple approach. We want to pursue. We want to be aggressive. We want to go north-south and play very quickly. And there's really no secrets. A lot of coaches are doing the same thing. It's making sure you're doing it better. One thing about how we want to try to go about it, we're going to spend time how we play. I don't want to spend a lot of time on what other teams are doing. I think it's important that we get our identity back. I started an identity last year when this team finished up last year, and that's what we want to try to get back to. So it's about us, not so much about what's going on with other teams, if that answers your question.
Front center.
John, Dave Metzold, Fox Sports Ohio. And to
Dave.
that point, you're coming in 7 games into a season with a team that has played a certain system for a while. How do you go about integrating your own systems and your own style of play with a team that is used to doing it one way?
Yeah, but I quite honestly, I think, and Yarmo may speak on that too, from last year, I watched this team play pretty much straight ahead and quick and hard and watched them have success. Somewhere along the line, it's amazing, and I do think this is one of the problems right now, is the expectations. There's expectations that weren't there last year on this club, and it's amazing what it does to the individual athlete and what it does to your team concept. So that's where I think it's kind of lost its way a little bit. And I know Richie has tried to get it back on there, and he's, as Yarmo said, he's a great man and a really good coach. It's not reinventing the wheel. I'm not here to do that. We just want to try to get back to who we are and go about our business that way.
Far right.
Coach Clay Hall, ABC 6, Fox 28. What would you say to fans? I mean, what is a reasonable goal? You say it's a team that's there, and it's time to chip away. What, in your mind, what is the goal?
I'm not even anywhere close to looking at a goal. I'm looking forward to our 10 o'clock meeting tomorrow. I think that's how we have to approach this. I don't think we can look at, say, God, we're 0-7, the hill we have to climb and where we need to get to. I think we need to take this day by day, meeting by meeting, practice by practice, and as quickly as it's gone with lack of confidence and it's gone south a little bit, you can get that very quickly back and you get the ball rolling the other way. But you can't do it by looking up and say, look what we have to go to. So there's no goal. It's about being as best you can be in each and every activity we do to try to prepare for a hockey game. And hopefully some good things happen in the Minnesota game for a few shifts. Maybe a few other things happen the right way, and then it starts rolling your way. It's amazing what happens if you can gain some confidence and have it come your way.
Front left.
John, Rick Gethin, today's Slapshot. With the experience you bring in, Stanley Cup winner, you have 2 Stanley Cup winners in the room. The pieces that you have here, do you anticipate it taking that long to turn them around?
Explain it to me. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I understand the question.
They're 0-7. Maybe it's a confidence issue.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate that the players being able to get rolling in the right
Yes.
direction?
Yes,
quick?
I do. Yeah, it's unique because you're going through a little bit of a process with a new coach, me understanding them understanding me, but you also have to find a way to win. And I think they're capable. I think there's some leaders in the room that's going to help that. It has to be together. It can't be a staff and the players. We have to be talking and helping one another through this here. And that's how you have to go about it. And I do think we'll get this going in the right direction quickly.
Third row right.
Sean Mitchell, Columbus Dispatch. This question is for Yarmo. Just when did you first seriously consider a coaching change, and what might have Todd Richards done different to prevent that?
Well, I've answered this question a few times. We're always here every day to analyze and evaluate our players and staff and everybody, and we're all under evaluation from somebody. So we're here every day, and again, this is something that is a process, and the decision was made last night.
Back left.
Craig Mers, NHL.com. Yarmo, the rest of the coaching staff, will there be changes? Is John going to have an input on who coaches the rest of the season with him?
Well, we haven't gotten into any of that. We have our assistant coaches in place, and they know their roles, and they're good at it. And we'll discuss with John as we move along here. And you know, obviously the head coach will always have input on his staff, and we'll discuss that among.
John, you had Brandon Dubinsky with the Rangers. Talk about your relationship with him, and also, do you know any of the other players on the Blue Jackets at all?
Oh, sure. As you go through here, it's such a small fraternity. You know, there's a lot of players, but you still know there's a number of players I know in there. Doobie and I in New York, we spent a lot of time together. I had him at a different stage in his career when he was a young kid. We went through the process, him and I. Some good things, some bad things. But that was it was my first meeting today, was sitting down with Doobie when I got into the building here. And he's it was so good to see him. He's a family man now, and I need to lean on him. I mean, he's part of that heartbeat of the club there, and he needs to be a conduit for the coaching staff and the players until I get to know the other guys also. So he's an important man as far as I'm concerned, because we spent a number of years together. I think he can explain some of how we go about it, how I've gone about it as a coach, and kind of make this a smoother transition with the team.
Right side.
And he's a hell of a player, too.
Coach Tom Tiberi, WBNS TV. Next 4 on the road. I want to say 7 out of the next 8 are on the road. With the change that's coming, is it good to get on the road, to get away from everything, and from a team building standpoint?
For me personally, yes. It forces you to be together. I think you're going to be able to get to know one another a lot quickly. It just, and I do. I think we need to really close ranks here as a group, and just knock this down. And it comes with a conversation, then it comes with actions, and just knock this down that's in front of us. And being on the road, you have some dinners together. It's just more, you know, they're not with their family. They won't be able to be with their family. So it's more basically hockey during that time. And that's important to me because it's a crash course for me to get to understand some of these guys.
Center right.
Yeah, John, Bob Hunter, Columbus Dispatch. You said you wanted to do a good job of listening. You said that a couple times. Did you feel like you weren't doing that before? I'm just wondering if there's self-examination when you've had a year off. And
Yeah.
you start thinking about things you could have done better.
Yeah, I think I think as a coach, you're always looking to improve. I think that is one of my pitfalls, and it happens to a lot of coaches. You kind of get the blinders on, and you don't really know what's going on around you. Just kind of focused in, and I think you can lose some people that way. So I certainly, and this situation is just ripe for that, because I want them to talk. I want the guys to talk. I want them to feel they can talk, because we want to try to help them. And yeah, so I think I do need to improve in that area, and I think this will be a really good situation to get moving there.
Center left.
Coach Chabasukos from the ABC6 Fox 28 affiliates in town. It's your 4th stop. What has been the biggest adjustment for you in your previous 3 stops? It's been, you've had mid-season, you've had the start of the season, but in general, what's the biggest challenge for you getting accustomed to a new team and a new roster?
Well, this is a pretty good challenge here, because it's just a situation the club's in, and there's some good players in that room, and it's a good team. It is just it's just gone. The confidence isn't there. And so to come into a situation where we haven't gotten a point as the season started, it's a pretty good challenge. But I think it'll make our team better. Once we get through it, in the big picture of an 82-game schedule, this will make us better once we do get through it. And yeah, so we're looking forward to it. And I can't wait to get going as far as just to be on the ice with them and understand them.
Front right.
I think, Yarmo, anytime you change coaches in the middle of a season, it's a jolt, a wake-up call in the room. This maybe goes beyond that a little bit in the sense of the reputation of your new coach. Do you want this to be a jolt to the guys in the room? Does this team need a wake-up call and maybe a kick in the rear end right now?
Yeah, I guess I said it needs to change the direction, and you call it the kick in the rear end. I think they're the same things, but I just expressed it a little differently. But yeah, we need to change the direction or kick in the rear end, and I think that that's a big part of coaching sometimes, and sometimes a new voice will just be the kick itself, and we need a change.
Front left.
Yarmo, Lori Schmidt, 97.1 The Fan. Can you confirm what was the draft pick you gave up to make this happen?
Well, the league rule is that if it's in season, it's a second-round pick.
Does Richie have any role with the team currently, or no?
Not right now.
Back center.
Tom Bosco, also with ABC6. What do you say to beleaguered Columbus hockey fan who's had just a little taste of playoffs and now looks like desolation again?
Well, you can say a lot of things, but I think the action is the most important thing. And I will say, a team that's 0-7, but that's a group that cares. And it's easy. It's an easy target right now as far as where the club is, but it's a group that cares. And it have to just take a little bit of patience here. And allow us to chip away at it and get back to where, and to me, the most important thing is developing an identity. And and it will happen. And so just be patient with us.
Second row right.
Coach, you've mentioned confidence. Jeff Little with the Cannon, the
Hi,
local
Jeff.
SB Nation block. You've mentioned confidence a couple of times. How do you go about restoring confidence both at the team level and then with individuals?
Yeah, it's hard to reach in your pocket and say, here's some confidence. It has to come through just some good things happening. And, you've been around the game long enough. As quickly as it went this way, it can come back the other way. And it was one of the initial things when I addressed the team today is embrace it. And some good things are going to happen. We need to, when one thing happens in a really good situation, get another one on top of it. Get another one on top of it. And then you start relaxing. And I go back to the question, they care. They don't like being in this situation. And I think some of them probably maybe a little embarrassed. And they're pros. And so it's a hard thing to shake, but once it starts coming your way, you'll see. It starts regrouping and go the other way, and they feel real good about themselves.
Right side.
Coach, they talk about the kick in the butt or whatever, but how much of it is from a psychology standpoint, just getting in their heads and, winning like losing can become contagious?
Yeah, and I don't think our game is X's and O's. I don't think that's the most important part. It's about the mind, and that's what's the most interesting thing to me about coaching is you don't know what's going on up in there. It's hard to. You may get to one guy, but then the other guy's thinking total different things. It's the mind, and I think that's a big part of our responsibility are to get these guys feeling good about themselves and then be together and play under a team concept and develop that identity. So. You can talk X's and O's and analytics and all that stuff there, but it comes down to right here, and you're dead on about that. It's how you feel about yourself. It's amazing what you can overcome if you have that arrogance, the right type of arrogance and strut within your game.
Second center.
Coach Alex May with ABC6, Fox 28. You mentioned Dubinsky, and you mentioned it's a small fraternity of players in this league. You've coached against a lot of these guys. Who are some of the other leaders that you look to on this team that maybe they don't even have a letter on their jersey, but?
Yeah, I think I need to be really careful in naming leaders because I may forget someone, and I don't want to start off that way. And I need to get to know that room. I know Doobie because Doobie and I have gone up and down for a number of years there in New York, and a guy I truly love. So I saw him in the locker room. I grabbed him. I just wanted to clue him in as far as where we're going to try to go with this and ask him for his help. And different players react to different coaches. We'll establish that leadership group, and we'll see who comes to the forefront, because eventually, I think the coaches need to be in there right now, but eventually it needs to be their room. And we're going to try to direct them in the right way so it can be their room, and then you have something.
Front right.
John, the New York Rangers are in the Metropolitan Division. Just wondering how excited you would be to play those games and what
You
those
know
mean.
what? You know what? I don't look at it that way at all. I have a lot of great friends in that organization, and the players there I still communicate with. So they're just like any other team. I want to beat them. But to pick on the Rangers, not a chance. Not a chance. I was treated very well there, and have a lot of close relationships as you go through when you're with a team for 5 years. And so if they're on the schedule, yeah, we want to beat them, but it's not to try to get back at them or something like that. No chance.
Second left.
You mentioned how young these players are, how young this group is. For you as a coach, is that exciting? I mean, it is a challenge, but you do get to mold them a little.
Couldn't be more excited about that, as far as a young group with some veterans sprinkled in there. Because that's what I miss the most about being off from the game, is the teaching. And seeing the kids. It may take 10 games, but then you see they got it, and it's turning into an instinct. And that's what you hang your hat on as a coach. They begin to start understanding it. There may be some good days and bad days when you're teaching, and some conflict with it, but that's the most enjoyable part to me, is watching players develop, not just their skills, but their mind, and being a pro and teaching them how to be a pro. That takes you a long way in trying to win.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. We've got a few minutes with John and Jarmo, if you want to grab them as well. And John Davidson is here also. But again, we've got about 10 minutes. We have a flight to catch in a little while. Thank you.
And yes, they do. They do have a flight to catch to go out to Minnesota, where the Blue Jackets will take on the Wild tomorrow at the XL Energy Center. So you just heard from John Tortorella. There's his first appearance as a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Very subdued, very laid back, very analytical to some extent. Just talking about this team and talking about what it needs to do and how it needs to get there. But there was, as he said, he's not going to reinvent the wheel. This is a team that had an identity. Its identity was to play very hard, make it very tough on you, and it's lost that identity. It's lost its way, and his job is to get it back to what it was. And that will be the job starting right now. From the time that he gets on that plane and heads to Minnesota, that will be the job. That's what he'll be looking to do. I am joined right now by Jody Shelley, who I'm very used to being joined by, but you are kind of being rejoined by a former coach here. John Tortorella was your coach in New York with the Rangers. I know you have a lot of respect for him, and you hold him in high regard. What's he going to bring to the organization that it didn't have this morning?
Well, I think he's already brought something here. Just listen, first of all, Todd Richards, and they said it a number of times, is a great man, and he did some great things for this team, and he couldn't get them back on track. It happens in sports, and things haven't started well, so you bring in the right guy, and that's John Tortorella. He's identity is one thing, but you could tell by the way he talked in that press conference, he's all about the team. He's going to do the right thing every single day, every single meeting, and it's about growing this group. And he does it with accountability, which is a word we've all heard around here, but I don't know if it's ever been exercised to the level that it's going to be exercised at here. He's going to lay it out, and you're going to follow his game plan, or you're going to be he's going to take away your ice time, or he's going to chastise you in front of your peers, not all with respect. And that's the one thing about him. I think that I loved what he said about Dubinsky. He loves Brandon Dubinsky, and I think Dubinsky loves him. And Doobie was a young guy when he played with him, but he's at a different stage in his career. And when you look back and you've had that structure and that person that's been whipping you, and you don't understand, why is this guy always riding me? It's like, now I get it. You know, he was trying to get the most out of me. And I think these guys, and one thing about Torts, he can see more potential in a player than they'll ever see. And that's why he's on them. He's like, it's a love-hate thing. And I think it's such an exciting time for this organization because, they're so good. And they're in such a spot where they need that guy to look up to every day in every situation with no gray area. And that's going to be Torts. And an example is if you sit in the locker room and if I think you're doing something wrong, but the guy next to you thinks it's fine with what you're doing, then I'm not going to speak up and say, Bob, you can't do that. Well, Torts now will take out the gray area that you'll know and we'll all know that you shouldn't be doing that, Bob. So you better watch out.
Oh, great. Now I'm going to be tested too. But it really does, on a serious note about this, bringing in a man like this with the pedigree that he has, and he's a former Stanley Cup champion, it changes the dressing room. And yes, he's going to deal with the players primarily, but it kind of changes a little bit of everything, doesn't it?
Everything. That media room was like a church. Everyone was so well behaved.
Never
it
seen
was
that before,
unbelievable.
have you?
I've never seen it, but it's like the respect you have for him walking in. It's just because he demands it, and there's no foolishness. Not that there was before, but it's a good presence to have. I think we all crave it. I think we all need boundaries and structure and expectations, and you might wonder, why hasn't that been going on? Well, it's a hard thing to grasp, and it's a hard thing to deliver, and John Tortorella has no problem delivering that to anybody that gets in his way of winning. And that's the key here. We'll see who wants to really win and who's here for themselves. Maybe there's no one here just for themselves. But you will see who really wants to win, because that's all he's about. And it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. I'm excited for these guys. I'm excited for the organization. Again, it's a change. It's a tough day for Todd Richards and his family and what they had to go through. The players feel bad about it, but it will be a positive thing. Torts will get the most out of every player, and he's so loyal and just does it in a great way. I'm fired up.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that you played for this guy for a couple of months, because the way that you talk about him, you would think that you would have played for him for 10 years, but that's the kind of profound impact he had on you.
I was in Columbus, I was in San Jose, and then in Columbus we were losing. San Jose expectations weren't met. I get to a place in New York, and everyone was held accountable. Marion Gaborik, it didn't matter who you were, how much you made. Your expectations were the same across the board. If you didn't meet them, you were sitting, and the next guy on the bench was going. That's refreshing. When you get to, especially like when you get older in your career, you just want to win. You want to be a part of something special, and he did that. And that's what we crave. You don't know it until you come across it. Well, these players are lucky because they're going to experience something now that'll impact them, I think, for the rest of their lives. It's a way you carry yourself. You talk to Freddie Modine, who won a Stanley Cup with this guy. He loves him, but it's because he treated everyone the same. It was about winning, loyalty, respect. I mean, if you're not 5 minutes early for if you're not 5 minutes early for a meeting with Torts, the door is closed and you're not welcome. It's a little thing, but it's a detail that means for a young guy you might be like, this guy's crazy. Why? Well, you realize later that, geez, that's a good thing. It's a little respect. And that's what he demands. And I think that for the whole organization and for these guys, it'll be different, but it'll be great.
All right. Well, that's just a little bit of what Jody has to say about John Tortorella. You're going to hear a lot more of it later on tonight, because we have our weekly radio show, The Inside Edge, coming your way tonight. It runs from 7 to 8 on our flagship station in Columbus, 97.1 The Fan. Now, we're going to fly out to Minnesota. We will do that show live for you, and we'll take your questions and we'll take your input. We want to know what you think, but we will go much more into detail.
We're taking
on this.
calls tonight?
Yeah, we'll take
I
calls
love it.
tonight.
Open up the phone lines.
Unless there's a technical difficulty, which there won't be. I can't wait, because I think that people feel like you. And if you're sitting there and you're a little bit skeptical about this, and you're saying, well, is just a coaching change going to be enough? Is this the right guy to put into this spot? I can understand you being a little bit skeptical, but look at this guy. This guy played for me, knows what he brings to the table. So we'll hear from you later tonight. We'll see what you think.
It's a culture change. It's not just a coaching change. I think everybody in the world has seen this move now happen, and they're like, wow, it's shockwaves. And I'm telling you, that room, press conference room, was very well behaved. So I think there's already an effect here.
Watch how you ask your questions. Simple as that.
Turn
All
your
right.
phone off.
That's, yeah, no doubt. All right, tonight, that is the Inside Edge from 7 to 8, 97.1 The Fan. You can also get it on your Blue Jackets app, and you can listen to it at bluejackets.com. Jody and I will do that for you from St. Paul, Minnesota. Thanks for coming in. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. So
Nice
that's
job
Jody
today, Bob.
Shelley. Thank you very much. That's Jody Shelley. I'm Bob McElligott. John Tortorella is the new head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he will coach his first game tomorrow night against the Minnesota Wild on the road. That'll do it. Thanks for watching Jackets TV, presented by Ohio Health.